we are. This is the 2018 Kia Stinger. Now the Stinger starts at around $31,000, $32,000. What you get with that is rear-wheel drive and a turbo 4-cylinder engine. That one puts out around 255 horsepower. The car we're in today, yeah, it's a little bit more in all categories. This is the GT2, which is the top of the line Stinger. Price as you see it here, $52,000 and some change. Whoa. Before you say, no way would I spend that much money on a Kia, just wait until you see what this car has. Under the hood is a 3.3-liter twin turbocharged V6. It puts out 336 horsepower. It's connected through an 8-speed automatic transmission, and this particular car is the all-wheel drive model, which means it also has torque vectoring all-wheel drive with a rear bias. That means, yeah, it's performance-oriented. Yes! EPA rates it at 19 miles to the gallon city, 25 on the highway. But then consider how much horsepower this car puts out, 365. Yeah, that's right. It's got more power than a Subaru STI. It has more power than a BMW 3 Series 340i xDrive. It's got, well, a lot of power. Let's start with the headline item of this interior. That is the Nappa leather on the seats. They're actually really nice. They're supple to the touch with some nice stitching in them. And then they say GT in the headrest, which looks kind of cool. But then you move to the steering wheel, and though you have more of that really nice Nappa leather surrounding with a flat bottom on the steering wheel that gives it that sporty look, you do have some of these like cheaper Kia plastics that you see in other vehicles from them. I just don't like the quality of this plastic, especially at this price point. And I'm probably going to say that a lot in this review, especially at this price point. $52,000 is a lot of money for any car. So I'm not just ribbing Kia here. At this price point, you do expect better plastics than this. So the gauge cluster features a large, very nicely designed digital display in the center, flanked by a couple of analog gauges. From it, I can look at all sorts of different pieces of data. I can enable and disable all of the driver assistance features, such as lane detection. It has front collision warning, it has driver attention warning, forward collision mitigation, rear cross traffic alert, and blind spot monitoring. Basically, it is very modern in the way that it approaches active safety. It's just got everything. We have a set of performance gauges. It shows me my oil temperature, the current torque output, as well as the PSI in boost, and that goes all the way to 40. I don't think it actually does 40. I have a lap timer, and I have, that's right, a G-force meter, because, of course, why wouldn't you have a G-force meter? Moving along, we have these 3 little directional vents that look very much like what you would find in an Audi, as well as the metallic physical buttons beneath it. These control the large 8-inch touchscreen, which is an upgrade over the base Stinger. If you get a basic Stinger, you're looking at about a 7-inch touchscreen display. This one right here is an 8-inch. I've always liked the Kia/Hyundai system. It's very easy to use, it's got great features, and it has really nicely designed graphics. I'm just a huge fan of it. I think it's one of the better systems on the market. And here in particular, it's extremely responsive. If something looks good, it doesn't matter if you have to sit around and wait for it. Here, for example, I will use the car's navigation system. So I just click on the screen there. Starbucks, which is our standard search because there's always one nearby. Starbucks, boom. And there we go, 1.5 miles away over in Redmond. Immediately gives me my routes, which I can look at various ways to get there. And it shows me that there's 3 routes, but it's 1.5 miles, seriously. It's so much better than the system that you would find in the older Hondas or even in like the Nissan. Nissan systems are not that great. This one, very, very nice. And of course, it also supports Apple CarPlay as well as Android Auto. Climate control, it does have dual zone because this is a luxury car, which is kind of what you would expect. The dials do feel a little chintzy. Again, it's those little bit of details. I would say that with this car, you're probably spending 80% of what you would spend on a more major name brand vehicle. But it's that extra 20% that gives you like the dials that when you touch them, you're like, oh yeah. I mean, because like Lexus's, you touch the dials and you feel, just the dial alone feels like it's a luxury piece of hardware. This one, it kind of feels like it's out of a Sportage or something much, much, much less expensive. Moving past the shifter, we then have the little drive mode switch. Again, it feels a little chintzy. I'd rather this be actual metal and not like this low-grade plastics, but I can toggle it. It has smart, eco, comfort, and sport drive modes, plus a custom where I can pick the individual items in it. And let's go ahead and click it, because the neat thing about custom is it shows you exactly what all those other systems do. So engine, transmission, those can be modified. Steering wheel response can be modified. The suspension, yes, this has adaptive suspension, which is really cool. The all-wheel drive system, depending on how aggressive it does its torque vectoring. And then beneath that, we have active engine sounds, because who wouldn't want that in a car that's supposed to be a sports car, right? Boom. So, you know, we're just going to go ahead and turn everything on maximum by switching this to sport. I do that and tells me it there, and then my gauge cluster lights up red, which is really cool. Oh yeah, I also have heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel, parking radars, and the engine will shut off automatically when I'm at a stoplight. I can hit this button here and it'll make sure that the engine always stays on. These days you cannot build something that purports to be a sports sedan and not give it one of those extra special features. The feature is, of course, launch control. Does this have it? Yes, it does. Are we going to do it out of this parking lot? Yes, I am. So to engage launch control, you basically put the car into drive mode. You put the drive mode into sport, and then you hold down the traction control for 4 seconds, 5 seconds, until you see traction and stability control disabled. Next, you hold down the brake as hard as you can. Well, not as hard as you can, but firmly. You mosh the throttle, you have 3 seconds, and go. And whoa! I love launch control. Now, it's not as aggressive as you would expect from, you know, say like a GTR. This one is more of a everyday sports sedan. It's not like a track monster. So you get that quick acceleration, but it's not going to rip your head off, pull your fillings out, or punch you in the face. I like to be punched in the face by my cars, but this one won't do it. So is this car quick? Well, Car and Driver tests 0 to 60 at 4.6 seconds. That's as fast as a CTS V Sport. Yeah, the fast Cadillac. Oh. Ooh, that sound is actually really good. Downshift. Yeah, the shifting is fairly responsive. It is an 8-speed automatic, and yes, it's a hydromatic, but with some pretty hard lockup in the lower range. And it blips it and it responds quickly. Overall, I'd say the transmission is just fine. It's nothing exotic though. It's not like a fancy twin clutch. Now, if you want a stick shift, you're out of luck. There's no stick shift. It is only available with the 8-speed automatic. Sorry. You know, this is really an enjoyable drive. I just really wish that they would get that extra little bit of refinement in the steering and the suspension feedback. It's just, it's a bit on the numb side. So let's talk about the competitive offerings here. $52,000 is honestly a lot of money. It doesn't matter what you're buying, that's a lot of money. So what else could you get in this price point? Well, there are a lot of really great options. the BMW 340i xDrive. That car has a twin-scroll turbocharged inline-6 all-wheel drive. You would be giving up some room in the second row. This vehicle is larger than a 3 Series, yet smaller than a 5 Series. So you are getting extra space with the Kia. Now you'll also have to consider the Alfa Romeo Giulia TI. That car starts around $38,000 and also includes a turbocharged V6. Granted, it does have less power, but it is awfully close in terms of real-world driving experience. And honestly, if you want a car that turns heads, nothing does it better than an Alfa Romeo. You could also get an Acura TLX with a V6 engine in it that drives nice, has good performance, a little on the bland side, to be honest, but it has an excellent all-wheel drive system. But you cannot look at the Stinger without saying, you know what, this is a fantastic looking car. I would say it's the best looking car that you can get south of $60,000. And this car actually borrows a few things from the Audi A7. You look at it, it's a 4-door, but with a hatchback, which makes it so just useful, because you can put that second row down and just load it up like a truck. Or put the seats up and you got lots of leg room for full-size adults back there. It's fantastic. Would I take this on a track day? Probably not. Yes, it has large Brembo brakes in the front, 13.8-inch rotors in fact, with 13.4s in the back. Impressive, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's that kind of a car, you know? I'm really impressed. Kia did an amazing job for this, and the people who will buy this car will love it, and they're getting a fantastic deal with a fantastic car. However, is it actually as good as a BMW or a Porsche? Hell no. No, it's not. There's a reason why you spend an extra $20,000, $30,000 for those vehicles. And it's not just the prestige of the brand. It's that extra 20% of performance that's there when you need it that the Kia currently doesn't offer. I'm not saying that to hate on Kia. Kia makes great cars. They really have done a fantastic job with the Stinger. However, they're not overnight going to do what the Germans have been spending 100 years refining. It's just not going to happen. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe by clicking the link and check back often for new videos. See you next time.